Hey everyone, welcome back to Remnant from Hell. This is going to be the final video of the original topics I've been holding polls for on my community tab. Today we'll be covering all the changes, balances, and fixes made to the vanilla trinkets, and there are a lot of them. I'll be starting off with the bug fixes first, and then moving on to the changes. Starting off, Amulet of Epicaricacy, simply put, works now, so long as you have the Catalyst trait. Previously, having Catalyst would override the secondary effect of the amulet. Now it functions properly as a way of boosting your mod generation. This can come extremely in handy when fighting someone like Exilis. Mods like Veil of the Black Tear and Riftwalker can be charged much faster. And you don't have to sacrifice your rate of fire like you would with Burden of the Follower. A very welcome long-awaited fix for the amulet. Radioactive Ember now properly works with non-elemental melee charge attacks. Previously, it would remove charge attack tags from them, making the benefit from Wisdom practically null. Now it properly converts the weapon and increases the damage. Stalker's Brand got a small fix. It now actually makes you harder to detect. Before, it would actually make you more susceptible to being spotted. Now you can properly sneak around with Ring of Shadows. Twisted Idol now reads as Armor Encumbrance instead of just Encumbrance. This is to make it consistent with other sources like Leto's Amulet and Ring of Honor. The Akari Warband no longer grants an effective range bonus. This was a hidden stat and wasn't really necessary, although it's interesting to know it was there in the first place. The Band of Discord no longer has its buff ended early after refreshing it. Previously, the effect would end after refreshing it as if you hadn't used another Dragonheart. Now it can be reapplied early without fear of losing out on the effect. The Deceiver's Band no longer grants a hidden swap speed bonus. Just like the Akari Warband, this is just removing a hidden buff. The ring itself has received actual changes that we'll get to later. The Ring of Evasion now shows the exact amount of iframes it gives. The Ring of the Admiral now shows the proper amount of damage received. Now onto the changes and balances. Blessed Necklace has had its duration increased from 10 seconds to 12 seconds. A small buff, but a nice choice in a Dragonheart conservation build now. Its duration is closer to that of other Dragonheart-related trinkets now, like Band of Discord. Brutal Mark now has a reduced activation timer and an increased damage buff. This makes it much easier to work with, as waiting outside of a boss room for a whole minute was a little annoying, and it made it pretty much unusable in survival mode. These changes make the necklace a good choice in normal play and survival now. Charcoal Necklace is one I've mentioned in a few Hellmod videos at this point. Basically, the burn damage has been doubled. This makes it an amazing pick for many fire dot based mods and weapons. The DPS from 3 stacks of burning is very good. Even Hell difficulty bosses melt from the necklace. An awesome top tier trinket for fire damage builds now. Driftstone is the storm amulet for frost damage now. It grants a 15% bonus damage to frost attacks and an additional 10% to frost mods. This gives it an edge over Galactic charm if you decide to run an all frost build, which given the changes to the Alternator, Blizzard, and Frost Spear is very possible now. It still has the ability to double frostbite application, so your freezing ability will be twice as effective. Hangman's Memento has had its duration increased from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. This balances the trinket in line with other on-kill options. Rings like Braided Thorns have a passive, so the on-kill bonus lasts 10 seconds. Jewel of the Black Sun is only on-kill, and requires 3 stacks to keep up, so it lasts 20 seconds. Since Hangman's is only on-kill and only stacks once, it lasts 15 seconds. With Talisman of Animosity changed, this is now the king of weak spot damage bonuses in the necklace slot. Rock of Anguish now allows 1 HP builds to gain 4 stacks of the buff. The movement speed you gain is really fast. You go so fast that when combined with other sources, you can easily dash through areas with primarily projectile and melee enemies. The increased reload speed is great too. If you feel confident enough to never take damage, this necklace gives a good survivability and DPS boost. Shattered Vertebrae has been reworked into a crit on demand necklace. Every time you non-crit with a ranged weapon, the next hit is a guaranteed crit and does more crit damage. Because it gives you a way to guarantee crits, it encourages you to not stack any crit chance. Instead, you should be stacking more raw damage and crit damage buffs. Many weapons can get immense value out of this necklace. This is another trinket I will be showing off in my upcoming builds video. Overall, great changes to a previously underwhelming hardcore reward. Talisman of Animosity has been changed into Tragic Emblem. The passive weak spot damage has been removed, and the total damage boost has been increased, and is now activated on weak spot hit rather than weak spot kill. This fixes the overlap it had with Hangman's and lets it fill its own niche. Bosses that don't have ads but have weak spots like Barbed Terror are good fights to use this version of the necklace. Definitely give it a shot and see what you can do with it. As the last necklace on the list of changes, White Rose has received a sizable buff. Its damage bonus granted per unequipped firearm has been increased from 25% to 40%. This means having no guns equipped would increase your total damage by 80%, or a 40% boost if you choose to run one gun. There is some potential for a one-gun melee hybrid build somewhere. Aggressor's Bane has gotten some internal changes to its aggro generation. Basically, the user will now generate stronger aggro more often, making them the target of enemies and bosses more frequently. If I had anyone to test this out with, I'm sure this would be a very nice change. Amber Moonstone has had its threshold increased from 25% HP to 50% HP. This makes it synergize better with Restriction Cord. When run with a Lido setup, the two rings make you incredibly tanky. Not to mention the immunity to status effects prevents you from being set on fire, bleeding, freezing, etc. A very good tankering option now. Band of Castor and Pollux have received some small tweaks. Castor's melee speed bonus has been doubled, but the fire rate penalty has been slightly increased. Pollux has gotten a small damage boost, and a slightly bigger range damage penalty. Both ring changes make them both more attractive on their own, as well as making their combined effects a better competition against other rings and melee builds. Band of Discord has had its consumable use fee penalty buffed into a positive gain. The amount healed by the buff has been increased from 125 to 300. To balance this out, the duration of the buff has been reduced from 30 seconds to 15 seconds. Previously, the ring was meant to be a sort of training wheels for the Warlord set. Now it can stand on its own as a powerful regen tool, which is buffed by sources of healing effectiveness like Triage, Mender's Charm, etc. It even gets boosted by potency, making it last 18 seconds. This pairs particularly well with some of the new Dragonheart trinkets like Frenetic Shard, Trader's Necklet, or Vixworm Heart. If you ever wanted to do a regen build, this is the ring for you. Celerity Stone has been reworked into a mag-dumping quick swap ring. The reload speed buff has been replaced with a fire rate bonus. The consumable use speed has been slightly increased, and the weapon swap speed has been tripled. When run with Provisioner's Ring, you can swap back and forth and quickly ammo box up when you need to. A very good choice for ammo box guzzlers. Deceiver's Band has been converted into a crit chance and movement speed hybrid ring. The evade speed buff has been replaced with a 10% crit chance boost, and the duration of the buff has been increased by 5 seconds. The ring now works better in a drifter setup, since sliding also builds stacks for Wanderer. It's a nice alternative to running something like the Warband all the time. Gunslinger's Ring is now the opposite of the Celerity Ring. This one serves the same purpose but with single shot swap playstyles. The fire rate buff has been removed. The weapon swap speed has been increased to 75%. And finally, the ring now gives a buff to recoil reduction, reload speed, and max ammo reserves. As I have come to learn, increases to max ammo reserve speeds up the passive reload of Provisioner's Ring. The more max ammo you have, the faster it loads ammo back into the clip. I have used this ring a fair bit in my Dark Sliver farming. The power it gives the sniper swap builds is very good. If you like the playstyle, I highly recommend checking it out. Hunter's Halo has been merged into the Iskal Hunter Band. The current version of the ring is a completely new concept. It increases your ammo pickup by 35%, and grants you a 10% total damage resistance on ammo pickup for 15 seconds. I used this ring with the buffed Scavenger set and it was quite good. The defense you get from the two combined sources makes you fairly tanky even on hell difficulty. I'd say this is one of the better rings for mobbing in the overworld and dungeons now. Oh boy, the Iskal Hunter Band was already great at making shotguns closer to rifles, although it required you to take both the Hunter's Halo and Band to effectively transform the weapons. Now the two of them have been combined, freeing up your second ring slot for a variety of more options, although it has come at a small cost. The spread reduction of the base Iskal Hunter Band has been reduced from 40% to 30%. Although this change is fine, the ability to have a freed up ring slot is more than worth it. Plus, if you run at least one piece of the Hunter set, you'll gain 25% reduced spread up from the base 20%. In the end, a very good deal for long-range shotgun players. The Juggernaut Band has received one small buff. The activation time of the ring has been reduced from 2 seconds to 1 second. This helps the ring proc quicker, giving the movement speed, damage, and stagger reduction faster. This ring helps players run through areas much swifter and safer, which can help out a lot in something like survival mode. Pillar of Stone was given some buffs to its quality of life stats. The recoil reduction and sway reduction have been increased by 10% and 15% respectively. I've always liked the ring, so its stats being increased to make it more attractive is good in my book. The sway reduction can help you line up those long-range sniper shots much easier. and the recoil reduction is very good, especially if you run the new Velocity Core necklace. Prismatic Diamond Ring has had its elemental damage boost increased by 2%. This puts it in line with the Stone of Balance, which has no elemental requirement at all. This is a nice option to run with the newly buffed Alternator and its variants, a small but very good buff for the ring. The Ring of Honor has had all 3 of its stats boosted by 5 points. The health and stamina are nice, but the main attraction here is the encumbrance. 15 encumbrance reduction, as I mentioned in the new Trinkets video, allows many sets to drop down a weight tier. The weight reduction plus health increase is very good on something like the Leto set. No flops plus a health increase is a very good combination with its 50% damage reduction. Not to mention the 15 extra stamina can help you sprint and roll a little bit more, even with the heavy encumbrance. A nice buff to the ring. The Ring of Supremacy has had its activation time reduced from 10 seconds to 7 seconds. A nice small change, and definitely needed with the increased enemy count and hell difficulty. The Ring of Synergy has had its revival speed per user wearing the ring increased. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone to test it with, but I imagine it is a very nice buff. The Ring of the Punisher now works with the newly added debuffs. With Radiation Sickness and Hypothermia being added with the mod, the max potential for the Punisher ring has been increased. The Scavenger ring has had its healing ability slightly increased. It makes a good pair with the new Hunter's Halo as a healing and damage boosting option for exploring the overworld and mobbing through dungeons. Swashbuckler's Signet has had its ammo restoring abilities improved. It can now stack up to 5 times, and each stack replenishes 20% of both weapons' ammo. This means 5 melee charge attacks can fully restore your ammo with both guns. A nice ring option for melee ranged hybrid builds now. The Vanguard Ring has been revamped to be a better melee tanking and aggroing tool. Each stack of the ring now no longer reduces your damage, has a stronger scaler for aggro, and increases your stagger damage by 50%. On top of that, the duration of the buff has been increased to 15 seconds. Now while the ring is good in multiplayer, it can definitely help out in the Root Mother and Liz's events. The reduced damage taken and increased stagger damage allow you to tank better and interrupt enemies more often. When run with a source of Leech and Litos, you are very tanky, and a good distraction for any friendlies on the field. Last but not least, Volatile Gem has been buffed. Its base damage and range have both been increased. It now also grants a 15% chance to knock Utsuma Dragonheart. I briefly showed it off in the new Trinkets video, but the damage you can get from this ring is insane. Critical explosions are devastating. They outright kill most basic enemies and greatly damage elites. It works very well with the Elder set and the other Dragonheart trinkets added with the mod. And that covers everything from the original set of polls. It's been quite the journey. I do have more videos in store for the mod, especially as it receives more updates. Next week I'll be covering some of my favorite builds. Also, if you want to drop by and say hi to myself or any of the mod devs, I'll put a link in the description to Bolt's Discord. There you can leave suggestions, bug reports, as well as find patch notes when they release. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.